Good evening, I'm Dylan Little Nutsy. You might not be able to tell from my complete lack of facial hair. It's Movember, you gotta start clean. And I am here to, not to talk about Movember, I'm here to talk about the next book that we'll be reading. Which book will we be reading next? That's up to you. We have 3 books from which you can vote, and the one with the most votes is the one we'll be reading next, which is going to be a regular feature. We're always going to have votes for one of 3 books. So let's go on with it. We have 3 books, all of which have score 1, so they're not super popular, and that's because we're still making test videos, but here it goes. As a first book we have oh, this is difficult. Alright, we have Time's Arrow by Martin Amis. It's a book about as old as I am, and I hadn't heard of it before. It's apparently about this German doctor in the Holocaust times, and the story isn't told in like a chronological order, but it's sort of jumbled. I don't know, it could be interesting. I haven't read anything by Martin Amis. I've only read things by his father, Kingsley Amis. Oh well, I've read one book, and that was alright. My grandmother is a large fan of that book, at least, or maybe all of Kingsley Amis. I'm not sure. She's not that big on Martin Amis, but I don't know. Who knows? That's one option. It seems interesting and it's pretty short. And speaking of another short book about time, our second option is, I'm getting better, is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, I think. And that's a book I haven't read. I think I saw the film once, and a lot of people in my class read it in high school because it's really short. And from what I know, if I'm talking about the same book, it's about this man in Victorian times, I think, and his wife dies. And so nowadays we'd go to a grieving counselor, only they did not have such things in those times. So instead, he builds a time machine to save his wife, save his wife's life. And that sort of doesn't work out as he had planned. That's all I'm going to say about it. Hopefully I'm talking about the right book. As a third candidate, that's a book that I'm really sure I'm talking about the right thing, is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Did you see that? I did it in one go. Like, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. A very short book too. It's about two men in the American time of the Depression, the 30s, and they go around the nation looking for work, which is pretty difficult at that time. And one of them is like a small little wise fellow, and one of them is a large, gullible, stupid oaf with a good heart, but just not a very good brain. And I think that's actually it's probably written in the 30s. I'm pretty sure it's written in the 30s, maybe early 40s, and I think it may be one of the progenitors, if you will, of the sort of character trope of a small cunning little man with a big oaf as a sidekick, and the oaf always gets the smart guy in trouble. It's a short story. It's pretty tragic. I read it. It gets sad. I think it's also a staple in the US. A lot of people in the US read it because it's part of the national heritage, and it's pretty short and accessible. And well, if you want to also be able to talk about it, then go ahead and vote that one. Which leaves us at the voting. There will be 3 comments in this video, well, maybe more, but 3 by me, 1 for each of the books. So we'll have a comment with Time's Arrow, and a comment with The Time Machine, and a comment with Of Mice and Men. And whichever one you would like us to read the most, you can just go ahead and like that comment, or if you're not sure, pick both comments, or all three comments. And when voting closes, which will be on Sunday, well, we'll pick that book and we'll be reading it, and you'll hear us talk about it at the end of this month, November. So, well, see you then.